Okay, welcome to lesson 5, the final lesson of chapter 1. And in this lesson, we're going to be talking about your outward projection. So throughout the chapter, we've covered your purpose, your mind, your body, your soul. And now we're talking about how you bring all those elements together and project it out into the world when you're out talking with potential voters and out on the campaign trail. So I think it's really important to think about how people are perceiving you. So when you walk into a room, are people thinking, wow, who's this guy? Or are they thinking, who's the slob that just walked through the door? Or importantly, are people just not even noticing you at all? So these are the things that we're going to be focusing on through the rest of this lesson. So we'll start with how you look, how you sound, and how you make other people feel. So let's start off with how you look. I'll just provide some basic tips here and let's get into it. So tip number 1, get a haircut. Guys, this is more geared toward you, but it's so simple and it honestly makes a big difference. I'm pretty much due for a haircut right now if you look, because I like to keep it short and clean because it really makes a big difference when people are talking to you. If they're distracted at all by your hair, it just sends the wrong signal. So have something like clean, tight, that doesn't draw attention away from your face. That's the big deal. And guys, like, I live in New York City where everything is crazy expensive. I go and get my hair cut and it's $15. So, you throw in a $5 tip and it's $20. So it's not that big of an expense. And if it makes a difference on your campaign, you should really be doing it. Honestly, I recommend once a week when you're campaigning super hard. You know that nice fresh feeling when you just got a haircut and you're feeling great because you know you're looking great? You should just have that feeling all the time. It's $15. So just, stay on top of it. Okay, tip number 2. This is for guys and girls. Simple, neat clothes. So the idea here is that you want to look nice and you want to get put together. You want to be put together, but nothing that is going to be distracting from you. When people talk with you, the last thing that you want them to be remembering is your clothes. Whether that's a good impression or a bad impression, that shouldn't be the impression that they're left with. So the idea is that if someone is just talking to you, the clothes are not worth noticing or remarking. But if someone does pay particular attention to your clothing, then it should be yes, they looked put together. They looked nice, they looked put together. It shouldn't be anything other than that. You definitely don't want it to be slob, and you probably don't want it to be like, oh yeah, so high fashion. They seem really focused on their clothes. That's also not really sending the right message. So it's simple and put together. One call out here though is if you are particularly known for a stylistic element or a certain brand that really encapsulates who you are, and that's who you've been for a long time, and that's the way your community knows you, then you want to stay true and authentic to that. There's this congresswoman, and her name is escaping me right now, but she was in the news a lot recently because her and Trump were having a feud, and she's always wearing cowboy hats that are covered in glitter. So I guess she's done that for a really long time. If she all of a sudden started campaigning for something and was never wearing those cowboy hats, people would be like, oh, that's weird, because it's so unlike her. She's literally always wearing those cowboy hats, except for the floor of the House of Representatives because they're not allowed to wear hats. So moving on to tip number 3, and I call this going up one level. So when you're out campaigning and you're figuring out what to wear to an event, I like to say to think about the way that people are going to be dressed there and then just take it up one little level. So if you know you're going to an after work, maybe an after work fundraiser where it's going to be everyone will be business casual because that's the folks there. So the guys will be in slacks with a business shirt and no tie, no jacket. They'll be business casual. Then maybe you'll throw on a tie to make it a little bit, to go up one level. Or maybe you'll sport a coat with no tie. So something that just brings it up one notch. Ladies, you can do the same thing. Maybe it's like throwing on a nice blazer over the top of what you're wearing, or doing it accordingly. I will admit, women's fashion, definitely not my expertise. So feel free to take the advice, go up one level, and make it your own, because I can't tell you how to do it, sorry. So the same thing goes like if you were, say it's a Saturday and you're out walking precincts, and you know that there's going to be tons of volunteers there, and they're probably going to be like in a campaign t-shirt and some jeans and tennis shoes. Then maybe you throw on a jeans and a polo and some like nicer leather shoes. So it's something that just makes that slight little difference. All right, tip number 4, skincare. Okay, I know that I'm kind of venturing into very personal territory here, but I do think it's important. You're going to be talking to so many people so closely, and they notice these types of things. So your skin and your teeth, just make sure that it's all put together, guys. Like, do some harsh criticism here with yourself. Maybe you smoked for a long time. Maybe you drink a lot of coffee. I smoked for a long time, and I drink a lot of coffee. So I whiten my teeth every so often, just, to just kind of stay up on top of that. They're nothing fancy, but they don't look bad. Other thing is, like, take care of your skin. There's some really simple stuff that you can do just to have a nice complexion. I'm not saying you have to go get crazy with this, but very simple routines out there to have a nice, like, clean, clear complexion. And guys, this is one way that you can make a really big difference. A lot of the ladies out there are already paying attention to this and have makeup routines and stuff, so that they, they're putting forward a face that they've thought about and put some effort into. So good for you, ladies. A lot of guys out there, they don't pay attention to this. So it's really like luck, or whoever's drawing the right straw, that if you're a middle-aged guy and you're out there talking to people, whether or not you have nice, youthful, bright, nice skin when you're talking to people. And that's because a lot of the guys they're just not paying attention to it. So this is someplace that you can have a big change and a big impact for very little effort. So that's the kind of strategy that I like. Very little effort with the potential to make a big change. So pay attention to this, and I can recommend in the comments some of the stuff that I do, but it's very basic. Okay, I probably take it one level above basic. But that's just me. So that's tip number 4. And that does it for how you look. Let's move on to next section here, how you sound. All right, first point here is not so much about how you sound as how you silent. So the idea is you got to shut up for a minute so that you can listen to people. Everybody expects politicians to talk. And politicians are really good at talking. It's great. But you need to shut up fairly often. When you're out talking to voters, they want to know that you have heard them, that you've heard their concerns. This is true for when you're out working a room in a more political savvy crowd. They want to know that you're listening to their concerns and that you hear their issues, and they know that if you're really listening to them and you're really hearing them, then it inspires them to imagine you as someone that they can work with in the future. So increasing the likelihood that they'll want to support your campaign. So that's the first tip here, is to just really listen to people. Just shut up and listen to them. So second is to take the time to evaluate yourself. It's easier today than it ever has been to record videos of yourself. I'm recording myself right now in my apartment with a phone. I'm looking at a screen of myself right now. It's easy to do, and we all have smartphones in our pocket. So I encourage you to do the same. It's a little bit nerve-wracking when you get started, but hey, you really, really need to be comfortable with yourself, how you sound, what you look like on camera, all of this when you're running a campaign, particularly utilizing the strategies that I outlined throughout this course, which has a heavy, heavy, heavy digital component, very heavy on video. So we'll get into all of that, and you need to be comfortable with it right away. So I recommend just get a little tripod and set it up and start recording some videos of yourself. You can talk about anything, tell your life story, talk about why you love your wife or your spouse or your mom or your dog so much. Talk about anything, and then review it and see what you like about yourself and what you don't like about yourself. Also, pay attention when you're out speaking with voters face to face, when you're speaking with more political savvy folks about your campaign. All of these times, take a moment right there in the middle of the event to say, like, okay, so how did I probably come across when I was speaking to Mary with the teachers union? Well, when I said that, what do you think that she was thinking in the moment when I said that? So just continue to evaluate those things and be a really harsh critic on yourself. And doing that will help you to grow and become a better communicator. Third, we've touched on this previously, but you got to be that calm, cool, collected person. I know I just told you to be a very harsh critic on yourself, and so it can kind of be hard to be calm, cool, and collected when you're also being a very harsh critic of yourself. But sorry, you got to figure out how to do it. Save the criticism and make it constructive criticism, but other than that, remain calm, cool, collected when you're speaking with people. Campaigns are intense and tense. You're going to be speaking with people that are going to get worked up and fired up about a lot of things. If you can be that steady presence and approach things very rationally and let people know through your body language and the way that you're speaking with them that you are a calm, steady presence and that you think things through and that you're very collected, that just inspires more and more confidence in you. It makes people want to support you more and more. So try and be that calm presence when you're speaking with people. Don't let it mute out your personality, but if somebody starts crying to you about how much they hate Donald Trump, that's a pretty intense person. And you need to be calm and steady for that person. If someone is screaming at you because of airplanes leaving chemtrails through the sky, you need to make sure that you're not at the same level as that person. That's not where you want to be. So that's what I mean by saying calm, cool, collected. And also here, confident yet inquisitive. I think this is a really good balance to strike. You need to be asking people questions as they're talking about different issues, talking about their concerns. But at the same time, the things that come out of your mouth, you need to sound confident about. So don't feel discouraged to ask tons of questions. But when you interject with things that you are familiar with, you need to be very confident in those things that you say. Don't say things that you're not confident in. Rather, just form them as questions. Be inquisitive about the things that you're unsure about, and be really confident in those things that you are 100% confident about. Let that confidence shine through. And then something that is so important, so important, always show gratitude. Always be grateful, and always project gratitude outward. Gratitude is an emotion that heals so much inside of people, and it also is very healing and reassuring when you project it out into the world. There's actual scientific data that shows that human beings are incapable of feeling anxiety when they're actively cultivating gratitude in their own mind. Whoa, that is so powerful. I was blown away the first time that I read about that. So it also has an equally positive effect and inspires very warm feelings in other people when you project gratitude outward. If you take a second to think about it and observe it, watch politicians' speeches. There's always huge amounts of gratitude in them, and they do it for a reason. So make sure to look for gratitude in your life because it's personally healing and inspiring. So look for those places where you can be grateful and actively cultivate that gratitude, and then talk about it. Talk about it all the time. When you're talking to voters, when you're talking to people at events, always make sure to say, oh, well, I'm so thankful for so-and-so. I'm so thankful for this. And, oh, I really couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for so-and-so. Or, hey, remember when you had my back about a year ago? Oh, my God, I know I told you I was thankful then, but like that gratitude has not escaped me since. So I really appreciate you. Make sure to really, really put it out there. All right, now to our next section, how you affect others. So this is an exercise. We've been speaking about how we affect others in the past few little sections. So now we have an exercise to bring it to life. And I love this exercise. So step number 1, think of a person that you really loved meeting. So I know you probably met tons of people. You're probably meeting a lot of people all the time right now. Think back, think really large here, and think about someone where the next day or later that night or whenever you met them, you were just like, oh my God, I love that person. Like I instantly loved that person. So could be somebody political, could be somebody you dated, could be your current spouse, could whoever. So take a second to think about that person. If you need to, you can pause the video. All right, step number 2, brainstorm the qualities about that person or the things that they did, the actions that they took that made you think, oh my God, that person is so awesome. I loved that person. Once again, pause the video if you need to. Well, you do need to. So go ahead and pause the video and brainstorm those qualities. Just jot them down on a piece of paper or over on a little side email or something on your computer. Okay. Now step number 3. Now go through that list and see which ones that you can authentically perform. So the qualities that person exhibited and also the actions that they did. Go through there and see which ones you think you could authentically give a try to. Throw out the ones that you know you're just not going to be able to do. And then step number 4, practice those qualities. Observe how you did with it, and then practice it again. Practice, observe, practice. Just do it over and over again. I really love this, and I do it quite a bit in professional settings with my friends. I'm always observing other people to see what sort of qualities I like about them and how I can emulate them. So give it a shot. And that's what I have for you here for lesson 5, your outward projection. So go through this again and keep it in mind as you're out there on the campaign trail and talking to people, in particular talking to political savvy folks at events that could potentially be supporting your campaign. They're a really important audience for these sort of qualities that we cover here. So I hope you enjoyed this, and that's it for chapter 1. So I'll look forward to seeing you in chapter number 2. Thanks.